close the microphone down. Audio okay, thanks a lot there, Nigel. Yeah, big thank you to Leon for doing it last week. Yeah, I couldn't make it, and he stepped in at the last minute. I've not heard him today, so I'm hoping he's around. Did have a chat with Gary today. So I spent about 40 minutes chatting to him about all sorts of things, and we could do with some more volunteers to run the net, 'cause I'm not always going to be able to run it, and I think it's going to be a little while before Gary is able to get his station up and running. So if you are free to run the net, or able to run the net, have a go. Put your stamp on the way things are going. I've put mine on, which is not necessarily what it should be, but it'd be good to have different people and make it truly sort of. So drop us an email if you can. I'm QRZ, and if we've got some dates that you want to attempt, and we'll communicate that way, or one can always communicate by my All-Star node, etc., etc., etc. But email me, and we'll take it from there. If you can run the net, would be good. We're hoping originally to get something like 5 people and sort of alternate it round, so it's not a big struggle for everybody. Yeah, the thing that I was going to highlight for us in the UK, the rest of the world is sensible, but we're not. So a reminder that next week the clocks will have changed, and so the net will be at 3 o'clock if I've got it right. I have terrible troubles with springing forward and falling back, etc., etc. But that's the way I read it at the moment. Before I move on to, I'll go back to the clocks in a minute. I'm going to play a little video that I found. But if Simon, with the SDR rather, television G4 LI listens to this at any time, I've got a question. The firmware, if I looked at the manual, SDR rather, television G4 LI listens to this at any time. I've got a question. The firmware, if I looked at the manual, SDR rather, console television G4 I'm not LI, but that was the other sort of question. And to Leon, I think he was having problems with his SDR Play, RSPDX. I think he's got an RSPDX. Have you installed the API, the V3 API, I wonder? I cheated, just installed the SDR Uno software from the SDR Play site, which puts that in, but you can, on their site, download just the API and install it. If you haven't installed that, then trying to use SDR console won't work, which you probably have done it, but just a thought. Right, let's go back to the clocks. And it says trying to find, let's go. Why do the clocks go forward and back? Okay, this has gone totally wrong. I've killed the wrong audio, so it should have had audio on it. We'll play a different one. This is another thing I found interesting. Well, that doesn't seem to be coming through to me. I think everything's going wrong. Let's go back to me on the camera. I know why. It's because I haven't. I'll come back on my next time and play the videos to do with clocks. I keep making the mistake in OBS that I didn't, because I'm using the VB audio cable. I didn't route it through, but it was changing the time on a sundial, which I didn't realise from British Summer Time to GMT. I've made a total and absolute mucker, but you won't believe how much effort I've put into getting it right, and I've got it totally wrong. So Leon, hopefully you're there. But let's just see who's on the schedule. See if I can get that right. Ah, look, I got Peter's joined us as well, which is good. And G0NYM Martin, I've twisted his arm to join us. He's the very old Martin. I'm the old Martin, and FKK is the young Martin. Now he's got some sound out of sync problems, so ignore that. His picture was good. Right, let's go back to camera, and hopefully Leon, you're there and can rescue me. It's just not worked out well. So let's go, and it's over to you there, Leon, from GKOE.
Yes, of course, Martin, I'm here. Yes, you run a far too complex station, man, and you've got to keep it simple like mine. One mouse, one button to press, and it works. Hello everybody, and nice to see that Peter's also joined us. And Martin, it was only a pleasure to run the thing last weekend. It's not a problem. I was free. It's always very difficult for me to say in advance when I'm going to be here or whatever, but anyway, last weekend was not a problem. Okay, before I get onto this project, which I'll tell you all about now, about the SDR, Martin, I've given up for now. I did download everything from SDR Uno, like you said you did, and it's supposed to do the whole tutti for you. And it loads the API, and then I zadigged it, which puts a new driver in. And then the moment you start SDR console, it goes and shoves out that zadig driver and puts in the wrong driver, and then you're stuck. Then it says there's no SDR connected. So I've tried all sorts of things. It works on this computer, no problem. This is my receiver computer for QO-100, and it works on that one, which is my Fusion 360 computer, which I use for drawing the 3D printer stuff. But it won't work on any of my, I've tried 4 laptops now. I've discovered another 2 laptops just now while I was looking for balancing connectors for lithium batteries. So, oh my goodness, yes, yeah, I've got another 2 Dells. Okay. Anyway, so my friend Gustav, ZS1 November Zulu, who was here last Sunday afternoon, or no, it was Monday. I think it was Monday. Anyway, he also had a look and he tried no dice. So yesterday he phoned me. He says, I've discovered something, some forum somewhere, where they say this is quite a common problem. Mine is a SDR Play APR1 or something like that, but it's a SDR Play thingy. But my normal one also doesn't work. It used to work always, no problem, but now lately it doesn't work. Anyway, He said it's a known fact that some Windows installations kick out the proper driver and put in something else that doesn't work. But there is a way to get around this, and he'll read it all up. He says you have to go and dig there into the registry and do some things and so on. The irony is, when you load SDR console, it says, do you want to keep the driver or should I load a driver? And then I said, no, keep the driver, don't load a driver. But it just ignores that. It does its own thing. So anyway, so that's as far as my SDR stuff. I've chucked it out for now. I'm concentrating on my UHF receiver, and I've actually finally got a proto dog's breakfast synthesizer running beautifully. This is the actual synthesizer. It's a Philips 5511 TSA 5511 synthesizer chip, with there is my homemade VCO, and it runs on a 4 meg crystal, and this is just a normal Arduino Uno, which obviously I can replace with a Tiny, which is no components. It's just a single chip. It looks exactly like a 555. It's a little 8-legged thing. I've used them many times to drive synthesizers and things. So that's what I'll use in the final product is a 8 Tiny to drive this. Now I found you don't get this chip in surface mount, this 5511, but you do get a 5522, which is surface mount. So I've ordered some of them. They can actually go a bit higher. This one goes up to 1.3 gig. That one I think goes up to 1.4 gig or something. But anyway, then I thought, okay, now I'll have the chips and everything nice and tiny, but the VCO, I must do something about the VCO. And I tried to find a nice tiny VCO. I mean, there's lots of people with rows and rows of VCO, ZCOM, RF micro devices, and all. I couldn't find a guy who will sell it to me. They just not obtainable. So then I started, I've been on the internet and surfing and skiing and all sorts of things to try and find a tiny VCO that will run 417 megs for me. They normally have quite a wide range, but anyway. So then yesterday I stumbled across a tiny one. It's 3 millimeters long. It's one of those little 6-legged ICs, 3 on this side and 3 on that side, little SMD thing, but the total length is maximum 3. They say it's like 2.8 to 3 millimeters or something like that. And all you have to add is the inductor, just a tiny choke, little coil of 18 nanohenries. But it comes with a whole nanograph and anything. If you want it from there to there, that value choke or coil you put in there. So that's now really going to give me a very, very tiny synthesizer, complete synthesizer for the local oscillator for my UHF wideband receiver that I'm trying to get going. Oh, and of course, how do you talk to this thing? It needs software. So I was also surfing and looking, and then you know, on the internet, and then I stumbled across what do you call it? One of those forum things, and this gentleman did something exactly like I want to do. I don't even know what country it is. His call sign is S57 something. You can read it there. I've got the paper in front of the camera now. But his name is Andre with a J at the end. And yes, I asked him, can you help me a little bit with this? And he said, yeah, sure. I said to him, I don't want, his demo one is on 110 megs, and I said to him, okay, how do you change it and so on, and he showed me. And yes, it works beautifully, no problem. So we're making progress with, at least we have a working local oscillator now. I'm just waiting for, and of course I wasted a lot of money. I saw that I found a tiny saw resonator filter for exactly 428 megs, which is where I want to operate. And they are available at DigiKey, and I ordered 10. They're about $1 a piece or something, but the freight is $60. Okay, I need them, so I paid the $60 for the freight. It's going to be here in 4 days, they say, so it should be arriving this coming week. And then the next day I thought, no, I need this little VCO that I've discovered now. Now, who stocks it? And I thought, let's take a chance and see what. Yeah, DigiKey's got it. Yes, they've got it. Also about $1 or something like that. Another $60 for postage. I should have waited a bit. Then it would have been $160 for both components. So anyway, you live and learn. But that's my story for now. Okay. Yeah, Martin, keep it simple. Your station is getting far too complicated, especially with that all-star stuff. People talking back to you and that. Okay, Martin, G0NYM, November Yankee Mike, it's over to you from ZS1 Mike.
Yeah, from G8KOE. Yeah, I don't know why you came in there, Peter. There was a gap being left for Martin, G0NYM, because it was going to be his first transmission. And he might have been having a few problems. Anyway, well, there we go. I'll pass it over to you there, Phil. Perhaps you'd take it. And perhaps leave another gap between yourself and Ed to see whether Martin's got things going. Right. Over to you there, Phil. I'll put a test card and it's all yours.
Right, there we go. Right, let's just check the power level. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah, got to keep an eye on it because the PA is cold and its gain will decrease as it gets warm. Anyhow, good afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. Leon, yeah, DigiKey and postage. Yeah, I've had my fingers burnt like that on one occasion. I missed off one item off of the order, and I didn't realise it. And a couple of days later, or a day later, I realised, and of course then I reordered, and the only place I could get it was DigiKey, so I was hit with another lot of postage. Probably not as bad as $60, but yeah, it was, considering what I purchased. It was, postage was rather a lot more. But there we go. What have I been doing? Not radio wise or TV wise, not a lot really. I did play with SDR console on narrowband, and I had it running on Linux, and then I tried it on Windows 10, and I had so much trouble. Maybe it's me not being familiar with Windows 10, but I had a lot of problems with it. Eventually I got it going, but yeah, I was quite unhappy with it. But anyhow, I did get it going, and I was going to go down the digital route, not because I want to do digital, it was because of linking up another program into SDR console, and you have to use virtual USB cables and virtual audio cables. And when I looked at the audio cables, the free one, is it VB cable or something like that? The free one that you could get only allowed you one virtual cable, and I needed two because it's bidirectional, so I needed two, and I wasn't going to pay for it. And then looking on the net, as one does, I suddenly realised that a program called QJack would do the job, and QJack was originally what it was designed for Linux, and it's basically virtual audio cables, and you can route them and connect them in whatever way you want via graphical interface, a bit like what's it called? Not Node-RED. Perhaps it is Node-RED, but anyhow, it's graphical. And then when I realised that it's QJack, I thought, well, what's the point in doing this? Because I've run it before and I know it works. And that's where the project ended, because it's difficult to get it working on Windows. And then I thought, well, this is stupid because it works on Linux perfectly. And that was literally where everything got boxed up and put back on the shelf. So that was that. And the other thing that I did, which is probably more interesting, was I don't do a great deal of surface mount. I don't do a lot of building like I used to. I mean, I used to have my whole working life. I was building electronic equipment from scratch, from component level up. But these days I don't do a lot of building. And building printed circuit boards with standard old type components, absolutely, it's old hat. But surface mount, I've never done a great deal of it. I have done it because I've built winter hills and stuff like that, so I have done it, but I've never done a lot of it, and therefore I have never really experimented to see what was the best technique. I just used a technique that sort of worked, but I never really sort of had the opportunity to actually play at surface mount. So a few weeks ago I ordered some surface mount soldering kits, very cheap, only a couple of pounds, less than a couple of pounds each, and so I thought, well, I'll do that and I can practice, and if I muck it up, it don't really matter. But I thought, well, I'll give it a go. So these are the boards, these are the things. You know, comes in a little kit like that, get all the bits in there. And I've done 2 of them, and I experimented just to see what's best. And first of all, I'll just show you my little soldering station, if you want. The hot bed is that hot plate there. Now I have to turn that down to the absolute minimum, because it's the thermostat on it is bimetallic. It's not very good, and I have to turn it right down to the limit, and it really is on the limit, and even then it probably gets just a little bit too hot, so I have to disconnect it, otherwise the flux will start to smoke, and that's not very good. If you breathe it in, it's not very nice on your lungs. So anyway, so that's what I've got, and yeah, that's what I did, and I just experimented, and I've got it, as far as I'm concerned, I've got it down now to a technique that works, and I use a hang on, let's put my camera back on. I use some tweezers with a curved end on it, and I use it a bit like a crane, so the rear end is on the desk, and then with the component held in the jaws of the tweezers, just like a crane, just lift it up and then plonk it down with the base of the tweezers on the bench, and that really makes it stable and quite accurate, to say the least. And that worked, and this is a close-up of one of the boards, and the components on the right, and I can't remember the number of them, but they're pretty small. I have used these before. I forget where I used them. I think it was on the ports down. They're 0402s, and I did all of that. And the first one I did, I got I had 4 dry joints on it, and the second one I did, I had no dry joints, and every single connection worked. And I think, yeah, and that really surprised me. So that's what I've been doing. I've been playing around, literally playing around with techniques for doing surface mount, and that's it. That's what I've really been doing. So yeah, so that's enough from me. Who's next? I think Martin's going to take it. So if you just hold back, Ed, and see if Martin can come in. What I should do is I should put up my test card, and then I'll kill carrier, and if Martin is able to come up, I'm sure he will. If not, Ed,
Hi. Right, I'm sorry about all the palaver. It's first time on the bird or whatever. Yes, thank you, Martin, for running the net. First of all, we'll Okay, first of all, Leon, in your VCR bits of parts, getting your parts right. Yes, it's always the same, isn't it? You want one part, you've got to pay. You want one part, and it's always sort of going to cost you an arm and leg just one piece. I always think there's some bloke with a taxi that's got to go to the other end of a warehouse or the even next street to pick a little part out of a component drawer to put it in an envelope for you. Okay, on the sink, yes. Well, just hope the sink's not interfering with too many people. It's something for me to sort out. Everything's very basic here. It's a winter hill into a bird's bullseye, enter a 1.2 metre dish, and it's DATV easy into OBS into a small 100 milliwatt amp, 30 dB amp, whatever, enter a Burt Modder 70 watt amp, which is stuck up there somewhere. That's basically it. Okay, Phil, on your adventures with surface mounting. Well, I built the Winter Hill, which was the very, very first surface mounted thing I'd ever built. I go back 60 years, and I was brought up with 807s, 88 ECC 83s, and soldering, and a piece of wire with a hook on the end, and a Weller solder gun, put it that way, or even before Weller had coal or whatever. And I was quite happy with that. Chassis, knocking holes out of chassis and things, and mounting valve holders, or tubes as what the Americans call them, and I was quite happy with that. But never mind, I ventured into surface mounted and built the Winter Hill thanks to Colin. He's got a YouTube channel, or BATC got a YouTube channel, with one of his soldering surface mounted components, which I've watched over and over again. I followed his way of doing things to the letter, and I found it quite easy eventually, and everything seemed to work out fine. Now, a couple of days ago I started to build a radioless node, and I got this, and I've stuck all the bits on it, but the trouble is, I would sooner do surface mounting now. I'm cutting the wires off. It seems a lot of faff, a lot of palaver to put the parts on. And like Phil was saying, if you use hooked tweezers and use it like a crane, like he very well described it, to sort of hold the piece in, I use solder. I don't use paste or a hot plate. I just use a soldering iron and just touch the end to get it into position, and once it's in the right spot, turn it round, do the other side. And the secret for me was using very, very fine solder, not I think it's about less than a millimetre, quarter mil or something like that, very fine diameter solder, and I had quite a good look with it. So that's worked well for me. I hope this transmission's coming out okay. Sorry, I apologise to anybody if it isn't, but this is the first time I've ever been on the satellite. The sync's out, I know. I'll have to play about with that and see if we can sort it out. It looks worse now than what it was before. So, I don't know who's to take it next. I'll pass it, I'll carrier, put my test card up, and whoever's to take it, please do so. Thank you very much for having me on anyway. From G0 and
Okay, GW7BZY, hopefully it's my go, I think it is. My phone's pinging away. GW7BZY, hopefully it's my go, I think it is. turn down the sound. Good evening to everybody, or good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you are. I don't think morning, but my phone buzzing. I've got two phones. I've got the wife. I went out last night. One of the lads at work was having a stag do, so taxi driver just dropped off my phone. It was that kind of night, and of course I got, not that I've got much of a hangover, but I certainly got a serious earache this morning. Well, she's not speaking to me at the moment, but hopefully that'll improve as the day goes on. So I've been getting my other old phone into operation, but the taxi driver just dropped it off, so all's good, and all's well that ends well, eh? Although it's not quite ended just yet. Yeah, I don't think I wasn't on last week, was I? I think working. But yeah, I haven't done anything radio-wise. My local repeater, DMR repeater, the lovely sound, as I know some people appreciate DMR. The repeater's gone. I mean, I don't quite know how. There is more behind it, I expect, but there's a story which I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate. But it's gone. I just bought a new radio, so I'm going to have a whinge. I bought a radio. It's the only repeater that I've in a long time been able to work from home without an aerial outside, and now it's gone. So I'm not happy about that particularly, especially when I spent quite a bit of money. But there we are. I'm now tuned it to 446, and I talked to the wife and asked her for a cup of tea on it. I've got two, as it happens, two walkie-talkies I bought. A Woe song, which was really cheap, just to see what, test it out. And then since it got a really good signal in my home location, I thought, well, I'll go and spend a bit more money. And within a few months, it's gone. That's about that. I did give DATV Easy a go, but it doesn't seem to be working very well for me for some reason. It doesn't like the Pluto, I don't think. With it being modified with the latest firmware, and I'm not really going to go and change it back. So I did flirt with that a bit, because I think it's quite a handy, simple GI, isn't it? A graphical interface. It's quite easy. It's not, whereas the other one takes nearly a whole screen, and I don't have that many screens. So anyway, that's a bit of a ramble. I've got a comment on it. It's good to see the new guy there. I don't think I've seen you before. So good, well done on getting on. I think I've got Jim's one of Jim's PAs. I think it says he puts out 37 dB, so it's quite a powerful PA. And they run a little preamp, the Oscar preamp, the kit. That's my only surface mount construction was the preamplifier, and I've got another kit of it somewhere in a bag, because obviously I would kill at least one of them, and I think I've got three. I've got one in the bag, one that works, and one that's in the bin. Like so many things. With that, I'm going to hand it round. I don't know who I'm going to hand it round. I think I hand it round now to Matt. And apologies for coming on early. I saw the blank spot. I was in contact with the taxi. It was telling me that the phone was coming back, and I saw the sudden blank, and I thought, oh, it must be my go. So apologies for that. With that, I'm going to go back to my test card. I'm going to go for a cube now. Cube thingy. There we go. Look at that bowl. That's VMix, that is.
I think you've been invaded there, Ed. Um, it's one of those days today where things aren't going to go right. Um, the the bells, make me mad. Yeah, okay, there, Chris. Um, well, yeah,